Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ooh, wait, glasses.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Lying is easy. It's the truth that'll wear you down. If living had taught her nothing else in 90 some odd years, Maddie Fuller had at least learned that fact. And as sure as those billowy gray clouds were rolling in from the northwest to pay a visit with much needed rain, she knew that soon she would have another opportunity to lie. To whom? She didn't know. The exact time? She didn't know that either, but soon. Gone now, get down. She scolded the mutts that were jumping, licking, and nipping at her hands, bringing her round from the surety of the unknown to the here and now. Now the strays that were here tonight, but might have moved on by the morning, wanted water and the crushed, mutilated meat byproducts in Alpo. Maddie gave them what they begged for, and extra. A generous compensation for the lies and denials she would have to feed the prying visitors when they showed up to plague her. With empty cans left scattered in the yard, Maddie slowly shuffled across the rock-hard dirt, eyes cast downward, searching the veins of the earth for a beginning and an end. Learning nothing from the dust, she climbed the steps of her back porch. Lowering herself into her mama's old rocking chair, her gray-rimmed black eyes lifted to focus on the white Holy Bible with gold embossed lettering that was lying on a straight-back chair on her back porch. It wasn't the color-infused pictures of Jesus Christ and his disciples, or the maps of ancient lands, or the lyrical words of scripture that drew Maddie to it, but rather the secret concealed inside the covers of the good book. Inside those razor-induced slits were onion skin papers, some with her left-handed scrawl, and they contained the truth of her family. Her old eyes searched carefully around the backyard and beyond to the trees and woods and outlying structures that surrounded her family's home before reaching for the Bible and withdrawing the papers of truth. Maddie unfolded and smoothed one sheet of the fragile document in her flower print lap. As it always did, one name leapt off the page. That name, more than the others, twisted her heart, wringing a groan of agony out of her. It was the only name that made the paper of truth a lie. Willie shouldn't be on the paper. His name should only be engraved on a headstone, not this flimsy paper weighed down with pain. Big Brother Willie, 80 years dead, along with the rest of the family, had just stirred to life in Maddie's memory. The rooster had crowed only minutes before. Mama had breakfast sizzling on the stove, and Daddy was already in the woods checking the pine tree harvest. Helen, older than Willie, saw them coming first. Pitch black, high yellow, red bone, damn near white, honey tan, and velvet brown in color. On foot, in carriages, on horses, and in wagons they came, crowding their big front yard. Family members all sharing the same blood, all seeking to absolve the hatred in their eyes, the fear in their hearts. Helen had yelled and screamed, pulling kids and Mama from their morning chores. 6 of the 7 residents of the house crowded the front porch. Daddy was missing. Maybe if Daddy had been there, Willie would have lived another day. Maybe not. Another death last night, said the leader, Uncle Jess. We know it's your boy. None of the 6 on the porch had to guess which of the 3 boys he meant. All eyes were fixed on Willie. Mischievous Willie, who used to pull Maddie's hair with one hand while giving her candy and fruit with the other. No one knew what to make of Willie's confusing ways. We're ending this right now, Aldana. Right now, it stops. Mama pushed Willie behind her, trying to protect him from the hatred and ignorance that crowded her front yard. But Mama was a little woman and the rest just kids. What could they do to stop an intense mob? Women, men, children, teenagers, all blood relatives that pressed forward. Some held sticks, some knives, some pitchforks, some axes. All had ugly expressions on their faces. Mama tried to reason with all that ugliness. If he were the one, what you aim to do won't help. Only I can stop it. Hand him over. Uncle Jess stepped menacingly forward. They weren't willing to listen to common sense or family knowledge. They were too far gone, too filled with hate, fear, and bloodlust. Don't make this hard. Mama leaned down low and whispered something to Willie, but Uncle Jess must have heard it too, because as soon as Willie took off around the side of the house, Uncle Jess and the family were right behind him. By the time the five on the porch made it to the backyard, the family had already disfigured Willie so badly he was unrecognizable. Helen stood closest to the back porch, holding her ears, rocking, sobbing, screaming. Maddie bent low, toddling between the legs of the many aunts and uncles and cousins who had changed her diaper, given her birthday presents, and passed her from one lap to another in church. Mama screamed and tried to stop the final blow of Uncle Jess's axe, as it landed hard in Willie's chest, but hatred outwrestled a mother's love. Another uncle locked Mama in his arms while Uncle Jess carved the heart from Willie's body and lifted it high for all to see. It was a deep burgundy red, not black, like they had imagined. Hatred seeped out of the air like the sun evaporating moisture. Slowly, blindly, the dazed crowd stumbled to the front of the house, anywhere but the place of their mistake. Confusion and disbelief clouded their faces. Regret rested on some of them, but for the most, it was disbelief. The family's loud, bloodletting cries must have reached Daddy in the woods, because he appeared as the last family member rounded the corner of the house. Daddy didn't need an explanation. The heart lying by the mutilated body of his firstborn son was explanation enough. He fell to his knees, hands stretched wide, his chest heaving in and out, doing what it could to hold in his anger, the need for revenge, the pain. Willie had been 13 years old, and he was now dead for no reason other than desperation and fear. And so, the family lived on, the curse lived on, but Willie was gone, and his story, it was hushed up, and eventually it too died. After a while, her parents had seemed to understand. She and her siblings had not. But eventually Maddie understood. After she was given custody of the Bible and the truth, she didn't have a choice but to understand, to accept, to protect, to do her duty to her family. Maddie stared at the paper now, wiping tears from her ancient eyes. With her crooked finger as a guide, she compared her memory to the names. Stopping at the last entry, she wondered if her unknown visitors would bring the end for her. Lord knows she prayed every day for deliverance. She was tired, heavy-hearted, and ready to leave the darkness of this family curse. Maddie was ready to be with Mama, Daddy, Helen, Willie, Floyd, and Johnny in heaven. But Maddie's purpose was not complete. More names to scratch on the paper, and only the Lord knew how many more deaths before she could rest. I'm going to fast forward to a separate scene that shows a little bit of the progression of the family curse. Maddie had a bad feeling about this visit. Governor was acting like a rabid dog, crazed out of his mind. She sensed it more than she saw it in the weak light from her porch. She sighed and hung her head. She didn't want to fight him. She loved him, as much as she loved her immediate family. She didn't want to kill him either, nor did she want to die by his hands. She didn't like this one bit. There again, pounding on her locked screen door, looking up, down, all around, fidgeting like he had ants in his pants and twitching like he'd taken some badly compounded street drugs, all of which confirmed to Maddie that Governor had lost his natural black mind to the black heart. This broke Maddie's heart. She thought he'd been the one, thought he'd be her replacement, the next keeper of the family records. But apparently, her mind had lost its way too, had been so desperate to escape the secret of the curse and life on earth that she'd made him out to be something he wasn't. Fortifying herself, calling on her inner spirit, she unlocked the front door. With only the screen door separating them, she looked her nephew up, then down, then up again. He towered over her, standing over 6 feet tall, even with his crooked body, to her 4'11". And even though he was thin, he was hard and muscled. That was to be expected since he shoveled, weeded, fertilized, watered, stocked, unloaded, and loaded all day long at the cemetery, while all she did was walk around and sometimes tussle with her strays. For sure, he had the physical advantage. She, however, had the mental edge, plus years of coaxing good out of people who were controlled by another world's creation. So taking a deep breath, she unlocked the screen door. And as she'd done when the Blackheart first visited, Maddie stepped out on the porch. But unlike the first time, Maddie was ready for whatever this turned out to be. "I gotta have it, Maddie." Calmly, she instructed, "Call on your inner self, Governor. You can do it." "Cora Jean," he croaked, still wrapped in the dream. "Go deep, Governor. Find yourself." He balled his fist and took a step toward her. His brown eyes had lost their natural shine. "Go on in there. Bring it to me. You want it? Go get it." Her voice ran firm, challenging. She took a step forward, already tired of this nonsense, and reached her hand in her outer pocket, wrapping her fingers around the handle of a big, nasty-looking butcher knife. "I can't." This was true, a fact she could use to sway him. While the black heart possessed him, Governor could not enter her hallowed home. This rule served as an extra layer of protection designed by God's ambassador to protect her and the truth. So no, he couldn't just waltz in and retrieve it. But there existed 2 other ways he could gain possession of the truth. Divest himself of the black heart, in which case he wouldn't need the truth, or kill Maddie. She tightened her grip on the knife, not sure yet which way he would lean. "Why can't you, Governor?" A flicker in his dull eyes told her he struggled with the question. That raised hope in her, but still she held tight to the knife. "Why can't you go inside my house, Governor?" She persisted, making sure to use his name again and often. Hearing it, she thought, might help him remember who he was and why he was here. He knew. It came slow, the answer to her question and his true identity. But finally, it surfaced to his consciousness, rising above the feel-good memories of his lost love, the affectionate warmth of their shared past, and the constricting hold of the black heart. He knew and came out fighting. Fuller's Curse.